The hour of convening having arrived, all members of the House will please report to the floor and take your seats. All members will please report to the floor and take your seats. The clerk will ring the bell. We are about to have the morning roll call. We are about to have the morning roll call. All members present will please vote green to signify their presence in the chamber, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. Doorkeepers will please close the doors and keep them closed. Well, good morning. I can't believe the minority leader's not here today. I mean, I thought his wife had the baby. I was following the progress yesterday, and Robert Trammell III did get here on a great day, so. We have a busy day today, and we're going to begin our day with scripture reading and prayer by the chaplain, after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. Our chaplain this morning will be introduced by the gentleman from the 124th House District, Representative Wayne Howard. Representative Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning. It gives me great honor and a pleasure to introduce the pastor of the day, who's a friend of has been a friend of the Howard family for many, many years. And he doesn't need a long introduction, much of an introduction at all, because once you hear him, you'll understand. And I want to not take up any time trying to appease you on that, but just introduce him as a friend and a man of God that has pastored in Augusta at the New Zion Hill Baptist Church for, I'm not sure how many years. Pastor, you might have to help me out on that. I know it's been a long time. 31 years. And he doesn't look like he looks the same now as he did then when he first started. But let us honor him by welcoming his wife, Ms. Hogan. Would you stand? And now let's hear our word from God today from Pastor James A. Hogan. Thank you.
I want to say to the Speaker and to Representative Howard how honored I am for the privilege to be here and to speak to you this morning. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, in his poem Psalm of Life wrote, lives of great men all remind us that we can make our lives sublime, and departing leave behind us footprints on the sands of time. We can all list men and women deemed great by the yardstick of society, and we may look upon them as having achieved a status far beyond our feeble grasp. Such a view can lead us into accepting mediocrity as our fate. But I contend that any of us can achieve greatness in the eyes of heaven by committing to 3 simple rules. The first rule is to be driven by what philosopher Immanuel Kant called the categorical imperative. We do not do what is morally right simply because we believe it will lead to pleasure or reward. And we do not do what is morally right simply because it will lead to pleasure or reward. No. We do what is right because it is right to do right. The action is not for self-aggrandizement. The action may not be popular or politically expedient, but we believe our action is morally right. Right on the inside drives our actions on the outside. So rule number 1 is to do what is right because it is morally right to do what's right. Rule number 2 is to focus on serving others with a spirit of love, humility, and gratitude to God, and to those who bless us to serve them. There is a great temptation to focus on titles or positions as entitlements instead of a call to serve. This rule is summarized in a verse in the Holy Scriptures in Matthew chapter 23, verse 11. Let him that is greatest among you be your servant. So, rule number 1 is to do what is morally right because it is right. And rule 2 is to serve with a spirit of love, humility, and gratitude. And finally, rule number 3. Rule number 3 is to strive for excellence, always striving to give God and those we are called to serve more than we can give in the moment. This rule means that servants of the people should strive to maximize the potential that heaven has given them while striving to do even more. This rule is embodied in the words of the poet Robert Browning, who wrote, but a man's reach should exceed his grasp, or what's the heavens for? And so I conclude, anyone can achieve greatness in the eyes of heaven by following 3 simple rules. Rule 1, be driven by doing what is morally right because it is right to do right. Rule 2, focus on serving others with love, humility, and gratitude toward God and to those who allow us to serve them. And finally, rule number 3, strive for excellence, always seeking to give God and those we are called to serve more than we can give in the moment. And if we achieve greatness in the eyes of heaven, one day when our call of service is completed and time is swallowed up into the belly of eternity, we will hear a vociferous voice from glory cry out, well done, my good and faithful servant, well done. Please join me in prayer. Almighty God, from whom all blessings flow, we thank you for all your many blessings, for all you have done or doing, all you do, and all you are able to do. We express extreme gratitude to you for choosing us to serve your people. We pray for divine guidance, strength, and sanction. We pray that the work we do, the words we speak, will truly be your own and to your glory. In the precious name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, we do pray. Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Doorkeepers will unlock the doors. The chair recognizes Chairman Taylor, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Information and Audits has reviewed the proceedings of the previous legislative day and found them to be correct.
Chairman Darlene Taylor, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? The chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. The clerk will read the resolution establishing the order of business for the day.
Mr. Burns, 159 moves following be established as the order of business during the first part of the period unanimous consents. Introduction of bills and resolutions, first reading and reference of House bills and resolutions, second reading of bills and resolutions, reports of standing committees, third reading and passage of uncontested local bills and resolutions, first reading and reference of Senate bills and resolutions, morning orders.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. First reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 1056 by Representative Bazemore of the 63rd, Bruce of the 61st, Jackson of the 64th, and Bodie of the 62nd. Bill being entitled an act to provide for a new homestead exemption for the city of South Fulton.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 1057 by Representative Powell of the 171st. Bill being entitled an act to authorize the governing authority of the city of Pelham to levy an excise tax.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 1058 by Representative Dukes of the 154th. Bill being entitled an act to amend an act changing the method of selecting members of the Board of Education of Miller County.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 1059 by Representative Jaspers the 11th, Ridley the 6th, Meadows the 5th. Bill being entitled an act to abolish the office of elected surveyor of Murray County.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 1060 by Representative Jones the 91st, Stevenson of the 90th, Kendrick of the 93rd, Williams of the 87th, Carter of the 92nd, and others. Bill being entitled an act to provide a new charter for the city of Stonecrest.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Resolution 1538 by Representative Carter of the 92nd, Bennett of the 94th, Gonzalez of the 117th, Schofield of the 60th, Stovall of the 74th, and others. A resolution encouraging the United States Congress to establish a system of checks and balances.
Defense and Veterans Affairs.
House Resolution 1539 by Representative Harrell of the 106th, a resolution creating the House Study Committee on Advanced Communication Technologies.
Transportation.
House Resolution 1540 by Representative Jones of the 91st England, 116th Spire, the 135th Shaw, the 176th Gardner, the 57th, and others. A resolution requesting the United States Congress to take immediate and significant action to invest in the future.
Special rules.
House Resolution 1572 by Representative Gilliard of the 162nd, a resolution honoring the life of Mr. Philly J. Myers and dedicating a bridge in his memory.
Transportation.
Senate Bill 481 by Senator Jones, the 25th bill being entitled an act to amend an act changing the method of elected members of the Board of Education of Putnam County.
Intergovernmental coordination.
Senate Bill 487 by Senator Jones, the 10th, Butler of the 55th, Anderson the 43rd, Henson the 41st, Miller the 40th. Bill being entitled an act to amend an act revising, superseding, and consolidating the laws relating to the governing authority of DeKalb County.
Intergovernmental coordination.
That completes first readers.
Second reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 1042 by Representative Spencer of the 180th, a bill relating to general provisions relative to state government. House Bill 1043 by Representative Werkheiser of the 157th, a bill to amend an act creating a new charter for the city of Jessup. House Bill 1045 by Representative Williams of the 145th, a bill to authorize Putnam County to exercise all redevelopment and other powers under the Redevelopment Powers Law. House Bill 1046 by Representative Perkle of the 155th, a bill to authorize the governing authority of the city of Fitzgerald to levy an excise tax. House Bill 1051 by Representative Teasley of the 37th, a bill relating to kinds of insurance, limits of risks, and reinsurance. House Bill 1052 by Representative Tarvin of the 2nd, a bill to amend an act creating a Board of Commissioners of Whitfield County. House Bill 1053 by Representative Fry of the 118th, a bill relating to Brady Law regulations. House Bill 1054 by Representative Setzler of the 35th, a bill to amend an act to reincorporate and provide a new charter for the city of Ackworth. House Bill 1055 by Representative Fry of the 118th, a bill relating to state government. House Resolution 1516 by Representative Dempsey of the 13th, a resolution recognizing Representative Paul Smith and dedicating an interchange in his honor. House Resolution 1517 by Representative Cooper of the 43rd, a resolution urging the House Rural Development Council to solicit input from independent physicians in the state on increasing burdens and financial viability. House Resolution 1536 by Representative Cooper of the 43rd, a resolution recognizing and commending the National PTA and its constituent associations for their efforts to address the dangers of e-cigarettes and related products and urging local efforts to continue to address such dangers. House Resolution 1537 by Representative Cooper of the 43rd, resolution creating a House Study Committee on Nursing Home Quality Assessment. Through second readers.
Reports of standing committees. The clerk will read.
Representative Reiners of the 152nd District Chairman of the Committee on Governmental Affairs submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Governmental Affairs is under consideration the following bills of the House and Senate. Instructed to meet its report same back to the House. The following recommendations. Senate Bill 363 do pass by substitute. Senate Bill 403 do pass by substitute. Senate Bill 404 do pass by substitute. Senate Bill 430 do pass by substitute. Senate Bill 397 do pass. Senate Resolution 685 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Reiners of the 152nd District Chairman. Representative Sharon Cooper, the 43rd District Chairman of the Committee on Health and Human Services, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Health and Human Services had under consideration the following bills and resolutions to the House and Senate. It has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Resolution 446 do pass by substitute. Senate Bill 202 do pass by substitute. Senate Bill 325 do pass by substitute. Senate Bill 422 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Sharon Cooper, the 43rd District Chairman. Representative Jan Tankersley, the 160th District Chairman of the Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination Locals, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination Locals had under consideration the following bills of the House and the Senate. It has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 1025 do pass. House Bill 1038 do pass. House Bill 1039 do pass. House Bill 1041 do pass. House Bill 1044 do pass. House Bill 1047 do pass. House Bill 1048 do pass. House Bill 1049 do pass. House Bill 1050 do pass. Senate Bill 410 do pass. Senate Bill 412 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Jan Tankersley, the 160th District Chairman. Representative Jan Tankersley, the 160th District Chairman of the Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination and Locals, submitted the following report. Your Speaker, your Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination and Locals had under consideration the following bills of the House and the Senate. It's instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 1011 do pass. House Bill 1037 do pass. Senate Bill 480 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Jan Tankersley, the 160th District, Chairman. That completes the reports of the standing committees.
We are about to go on to the local calendar. Chair is going to ask that members of the House please take your seats. And as an alternative, you can take your conversations to the anteroom or the hallway, or you can take them outside. And at 34 degrees, they might get shortened. Third reading and passage of uncontested local bills. We have both a local calendar and a supplemental local calendar. The chair is going to ask if there is any objection to combining both the local calendar and the supplemental local calendar. Chair hears none, and they will be treated as one calendar. If there is no objection, we will vote on the local calendar as a whole with a recorded vote. Hearing none, it is so ordered. The clerk will read the local calendars.
House Bill 1025 by Representative Werkheiser of the 157th, City of Jessup. House Bill 1038 by Representative Hilton of the 95th, Gwinnett County. House Bill 1039 by Representative Jaspers of the 11th, Big Canoe. House Bill 1041 by Representative Rutledge of the 109th, City of McDonough. House Bill 1044 by Representative Shaw of the 176th, Southern Judicial Circuit. House Bill 1047 by Representative Jackson of the 128th, Washington County. House Bill 1048 by Representative Ballinger of the 23rd, Blue Ridge Judicial Circuit. House Bill 1049 by Representative Ballinger of the 23rd, Cherokee County. House Bill 1050 by Representative Dickey of the 140th, City of Byron. Senate Bill 410 by Senator Anderson of the 43rd, Rockdale County. Senate Bill 412 by Senator Auroch of the 36th, City of Hapeville. House Bill 1011 by Representative Gassaway of the 28th, Town of Martin. House Bill 1037 by Representative Watson of the 172nd, City of Meigs. Senate Bill 480 by Senator Mullis of the 53rd, Walker County.
What purpose does Representative Rutledge rise?
Make a motion.
State your motion.
I'd like to move HB 1041 back to the committee from which it came.
The gentleman has moved that House Bill 1051 be withdrawn from the local calendar and recommitted to the committee from which it came. Clerk will read the caption.
House Bill 1041 by Representative Rutledge of the 109th and others to be entitled an act to amend an act incorporating the City of McDonough.
On the gentleman's motion that House Bill 1041 be withdrawn from the local calendar and recommitted to committee, is there objection? Is there objection? The chair hears none, and it is so ordered. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered on the supplemental local calendar? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bills? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall these bills now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bills on the local calendars will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of the bills on the local calendar without House Bill 1041, the ayes are 157, the nays are 1. These bills, having received the requisite constitutional majority, are therefore passed. What purpose does Representative Hilton rise?
To make a motion,
State your motion.
I move that House Bill 1038 be immediately transmitted to the Senate.
The gentleman has moved that House Bill 1038 be immediately transmitted to the Senate. Is there objection? Is there objection? The chair hears none, and it is so ordered. Okay, I'm going to ask the House to continue to be in order. We're going on now to morning orders. I asked yesterday, and I've asked on other occasions this session, that we limit remarks on certain days to 1 minute. We have 16 people who have signed up for a morning order today. 16. So here's the deal. The maximum time per morning order will be 1 minute. You will be given an unknown grace period after the light comes on, and then the microphone will be turned off. And you can take as long as you want, and nobody's going to hear you. But we're going to move our business. Chair recognizes for a morning order Representatives Mathiak and Chairman Knight.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and colleagues. This morning, Chairman Knight and I get to proudly recognize outstanding young ladies from Spalding County that not only brought home the state championship for high school basketball, but they beat, Henry County, the only, and I hate to say that because I'm in that delegation also, but they beat Henry County 58-46. So we're very excited and very proud of our ladies. The Lady Jaguars won 17 games in their season and went undefeated in January and February. Chairman Knight and I want to give special recognition to head coach Gibson, who's in her 3rd season and brought home a state championship to Spalding High. 17-game winning streak into the next season. Congratulations, ladies. Spalding County's proud of you. This assembly is proud of you. Chairman Knight and I are proud of you, and of course our speaker. Enjoy this moment, because next season's going to be here before you know it, and you have a lot to defend.
Thank you, girls.
We also, Mr. Speaker, the ladies have signed a visor for you so that you have a memento from the
Your light, I appreciate it, but your light's on.
I didn't see
But I'm going to keep the visor. Chair recognizes Representative Cox for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Anybody that's ever been to Lilburn, Georgia knows we're a small town in a big metro area with all of 4 railroad crossings maintained by CSX and just a few miles of roadway. And I just want to bring to your attention that CSX in their wisdom decided to simultaneously close 3 of the 4 crossings, with tens of thousands of commuters each morning and each afternoon this week bottlenecking through a single crossing. It is traffic Armageddon in Lilburn, and I would call on CSX in the future to make better decisions before you shut down an entire town and cause school children to be late to school and really create a situation where even emergency vehicles have difficulty getting in and around a very small area in a very crowded county. In fact, I've got some language here that is looking for a vehicle, not a train, but a vehicle that would limit the number of crossings that could simultaneously be closed for maintenance purposes. If any of you know of such a vehicle, I hope you'll let me know. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representatives Stovall and Carter for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This morning, we are recognizing the most important professionals in Georgia. These men and women are all about keeping their clients fit and healthy. No, they aren't doctors nor nurses. They are fitness professionals. We started this morning off with a great workout.
I changed.
You used up 5 seconds. Go
Oh,
ahead.
I'm sorry. Okay. Thank you for the healthcare. You got me confused now. You got me all confused. Fitness professionals, and what they do is so important. And I share with them today. For me, it's so important because we know that health working out is good for the heart. So we want to just thank you and honor you today. And if you all would stand, and if you legislators, if you would help us welcome them, because they're helping us keep our hearts ticking.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Paris for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I rise today to let you know about the pinkest party on earth. Will be commencing this Friday, March 16th, down in Macon, Georgia. It lasts 10 full days. We're looking forward to you coming down and spending your money. That's really what we want. We love your presents, too. Now, we have a street party, and we are headlining Shaka Khan this year. So come on down. We'll be looking for you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Kelly for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Tomorrow, when we're home with our families, taking a break from the madness that takes place up here.
Gentleman will suspend. You know, it's really simple. And that is, if you're in the chamber, you treat the members in the well the way you would like to be treated if you were in the well. It's not complicated. I know everybody's busy and it's day 35, and I'm getting sad that it's about over. But if you have business to take care of, then we have plenty of places to take it. Otherwise, please give attention to the member in the well. The gentleman may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I was saying, while we're home tomorrow with our families and hopefully back at our businesses and spending time in our communities, the Georgia State men's basketball team, the Panthers, are going to be up in Nashville representing us in the first round of the March Madness NCAA tournament. So at 2 o'clock tomorrow, I hope you all take a minute and tune in on your TV to watch our Panthers fight against the Cincinnati Bearcats. So everybody, if you can follow along and cheer for our Panthers tomorrow.
Chair recognizes for a morning order Representatives Kendrick and Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If any members of the Gwinnett delegation would like to join me, we have some special guests in the gallery. Ivy Prep Academy at Gwinnett It was founded in 2008 as the first all-girls public charter in the state of Georgia and part of the Ivy Prep network of schools located in DeKalb and Atlanta. Our former colleague, Representative Alicia Thomas Morgan, is the superintendent, and I had the pleasure of coming and visiting the girls. And under her leadership, the Kirkwood campus raised its CCRPI score from a 43 to an 85. So if they could stand and let us recognize them, we would appreciate it. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Rutledge for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And congratulations to the Spalding girls for beating my alma mater girls from Henry County. But there were a lot of teams watching at home from that day, so we were proud of our girls for being there. But this morning we have a special guest with us from my hometown, Union Grove High School. Justin Ruffin, he's a senior at Union Grove High School, and he is very much worthy of recognition today. He was named Henry County's Wrestler of the Year, but not only that, he has won the state title 4 years in a row. And he's 47-0 his senior year, and what's remarkable, he's only lost 4 times in his career at Union Grove. And of those 4 losses, he went back to beat those 3 out of the 4 guys. I don't know what happened to the other guy, but maybe we could wrestle him this summer. But Justin has committed to Southern Illinois to continue his wrestling career, and I'd like Justin to stand for us, and please give him a warm welcome. Congratulations on a season well done.
Chair recognizes Representative Sharon Beasley Teague for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. I'm here today to announce that the South Fulton Chamber of Commerce is visiting the Capitol today. We're going to have lunch today at 12:30. We had breakfast earlier. And then today at 1 o'clock, the women in white will be at the Capitol on the South Wing. And I look for you to come by and just say hello to everybody. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Mark Morris for a morning order.
Morning, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to show my support for the children of our community. I know that my school board and my sheriff in Forsyth County are working diligently to protect our children. But there are many ways to protect our children, and I'd encourage this body to start thinking about the children that are affected last year with the 1,550 people that died on our roads in Georgia. This year, so far, 237 people have died on our highways. That equates to every member of this chamber, every member of the Senate, plus 1. When we return here next week, that number is estimated to be at 250. And if we're really serious about protecting our children, we'll start thinking about the unborn children of Georgia and this country. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Dreyer for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm joined today by Representative Deborah Bazemore and Representative Derek Jackson. We're honoring some families today that have been affected by a disease that we're just learning about. It's called PANS or PANDAS, Pediatric Acute Onset Neuropsychiatric Syndrome, or Pediatric Autoimmune Neuropsychiatric Disorder. What happens is these wonderful children have a staph infection, but it's a particular strain, and it crosses the blood-brain barrier and causes severe behavioral problems, including anxiety, obsessive-compulsive disorder, and it absolutely stops families in their tracks. It changes everything in their lives. There's very little known about this disease, but we are learning more. There are new treatments available. Unfortunately, they're not available to all the families, and if children aren't treated properly, these symptoms can persist their entire life. So we are having Pandas Day at the Capitol. We just want everyone to know about this, and we really want to recognize the families that have not only suffered under this, but have made progress and that are standing up for other families. So if you would stand up, we would love to recognize you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Marin, Representative Cox, and Representative Efstration for a morning order.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. One of the guests. We're celebrating today the Gwinnett Youth Commission Day at the Capitol. It's an 8-week program designed to educate youth about local government, engage youth in civic affairs, and provide an opportunity for youth to affect change in their community. They will interact with government leaders and receive community leadership training designed to foster the next generation of leaders of Gwinnett County. For you members, they are in the gallery with us today. Would you please stand and please recognize Gwinnett Youth Commission Day at the Capitol. Good. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Chairman Alan Powell for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and ladies and gentlemen of the House. I want to report on something this morning, and I want to give thanks for someone, and that's the real reason. You know, as we transact the business that we do by being elected, sometimes we're subjected to a lot of different groups. Yesterday we had groups who were down here in protest, and we had an event that happened in one of the committee rooms yesterday afternoon. And while I certainly agree with people's right to be heard, they have to need to do it in a civil way. But I want to give thanks and thank the men and women of Capitol Security. They stepped in yesterday amongst all of this civil unrest and just, quite frankly, bad behavior by some of the adults that were leading these kids around. But Capitol Security, the men and women, they stepped in and they dispatched that situation promptly. If you get an opportunity when you're walking out today, any one of these men and women that are Capitol Security, thank them for looking after you up here at this Capitol.
Chair recognizes Representative Gravely for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, the Paulding County delegation is exceptionally proud to welcome a young man from Paulding County High School. Senior Cadet Micah Bell is with us this morning. Micah, let me tell you some of his recognitions. He is a recipient of the Purple Heart of Leadership. He went to nationals for our Raider Cadet program. He has been a company commander for 2 years, and he has been accepted to the University of North Georgia to continue his academic success as well as military service to our country. And let me tell you this, other than today, Micah has never missed a day of school, but he is joining us here today. Y'all give him a warm welcome.
Chair recognizes for a morning order Representatives Lopez, Marin, and Cannon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. If I can have the folks from the Center for Refugee Services please stand to be recognized. They're in the few individuals are in the gallery, but we actually have over 300 new Americans and community supporters joining us today as a coalition of refugee services agencies that are here today for their 5th year in a row celebrating New Americans. This day also highlights the contributions that New Americans make to our communities across Georgia, and more of the half of the attendees are here for the first time, so I please ask that you intently go out when you're called out to the roofs and listen to the discussions that they have regarding their viewpoint, remembering that these are the new up-and-coming voters in our state, And also, I'd like to remind you that many of these refugees come from countries that democracy and access to elected officials that will actually listen to their concerns is sparse. And so we thank you for being here today, and we thank the rest of the members that are lobbying for us today. Thank you.
If you'll indulge the chair, I want to recognize in the gallery the leadership Fannin County group that's down here today, and I'm pleased to have my friends from back home here. Would y'all please stand? I hope you get to visit with them. I know that I'm hearing Savannah is going to be awfully crowded Saturday. Security concerns, uncomfortable. But in Blue Ridge, they have the pet parade on St. Patrick's Day. So come up there, and I'll be happy to talk about any of your legislation with you when you get there. Chair recognizes for a morning order Chairman Nimmer. Chairman Nimmer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And ladies and gentlemen of the House, I want to start my morning order off by saying what I'm about to mention to you for way of consideration is by in no means a posture for political sparring in this House or outside of this chamber. But many times we hear a lot of movements and demonstrations, and while I defend and I deeply embrace our freedom of speech and right to demonstrate, yesterday across our nation there was a movement about 17 and walking out. And I submit to you this morning that's the problem. Too many dads have made children fatherless. Too many moms have made their children motherless. Too many parents have walked out. These kids are the sum of us. They look to us. Whether we think they do or not, guys, I'm telling you, they are watching everything we do. When we embrace the idea of walking out, we're leaving them behind. They are children. We heard about the 7,000 empty shoes, and while I do not condone one death out of an act of violence, I've come to this well before, and I've told you we bury 5,000 a year to binge drinking between the age of 12 and 18. 5,000 smiles, 5,000 shoes, 5,000 future leaders who a lot of them were walked out on. Guys, it's time for us to walk in. I submitted to my community several weeks ago. Take a long, hard look in the mirror. You want to get involved, grab your kid's phone, look at their playlist, look at their friend list, look at their Snapchat, follow their story, get involved in their classes, go do some mentoring. Grab a kid by the hand, tell them to put the phone down. Log into their computer. It's not theirs, it's yours. You understand that? They are children. And while they have rights and they have a voice, they are under the subjection and rule of authority. And parents have yielded that to them for the betterment of their friendship and not the authority of parenthood. And for crying out loud, we bury 3,000 children a day by way of abortion. 3,000 a day. Empty bassinets. Blankets that'll never swaddle a child. I don't condone and I'm not making light of 7,000 combined deaths by an act of violence. I want to make sure I make myself clear. But guys, it's not time for us to walk out. I submit, no, it's not. It's time for us to get involved. It's time for us to look in the mirror and grab a kid by the hand and show them the way, not let them do as they please. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Silcox for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise this morning to recognize Diabetes One Day at the Capitol. I have some guests here today from Kennesaw State Chapter, the Kennesaw State Chapter of the College Diabetes Network, who will be accepting our House resolution. I'd like to recognize Dr. Ann Bennett, Raven Hicks, Naomi Williams, and Dr. Bennett's significant other, Gio Arroyo. We want to thank them for their work on diabetes. They are hosting the piece you have on your desk today that gives the indications for diabetes, and they will be hosting a lunch in 216 for us. So thank you so much.
Chair recognizes Representative Benton to introduce the Doctor of the Day.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to introduce you to our Doctor of the Day, my friend, Dr. Clark Hill, who is a native of Banks County. He is a graduate of Oglethorpe University and Mercer University School of Medicine. He completed an internal medicine residency at Georgia Baptist Atlanta Medical Center. Dr. Hill is board certified in internal medicine and hospice palliative care. He owns Hill Medical Group with offices in Commerce and Homer. Besides being a doctor, he's very active in his community. He is past president and current member of the Commerce Kiwanis Club, past chairman of the Downtown Development Authority, member of the Commerce Athletic Booster Club, and is serving in his second term as mayor of the City of Commerce. Would you please give a warm welcome to our Doctor of the Day, Dr. Clark Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for Representative Benton for having me here. I also want to thank MAG and GMDA for giving me the opportunity to serve you today as a small-town doctor at the Capitol. And finally, I know firsthand as a public service servant on a local level how difficult it can be. Most of the calls, communications we get sometimes are negative or in opposition of what you're trying to accomplish. But don't let that go without me saying that I appreciate your service to the state of Georgia and to your individual districts. Thank you.
House will continue to be at order. The House will continue to be at order. The clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 1389.
House Resolution 1389 by Representative Dickey of the 140th, Bentley of the 139th, Houston of the 170th, Green of the 151st, Reinders of the 152nd, and others. A resolution commending the Miss Georgia Peach Scholarship Pageant and the 2017 Georgia Peach Queens, and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes Chairman Dickey to on an invite resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the House. It's an honor for me to come before you this morning to introduce our 2017 Georgia Peach Queens. These young women represent areas from all over our state, and this past year they've represented the queen of fruits, and my favorite fruit, peaches, of course, throughout our state. The Georgia Peach Pageant's not just about a beauty. It also provides scholarships and gives these queens opportunity to compete in other and larger pageants, and these other pageants give the girls a chance to win additional education scholarships. Mr. Speaker, I want to mention one other Peach Queen, and that's my mother, Jane, whose birthday was yesterday, and she turned 91 and still driving the duplicate bridge tournaments and keeping the rest of our favorite us family straight. And of course, my other Peach Queen right over here, my wife, Cindy. Thank you. So an event such as this doesn't happen by itself. I'd like House members to give a warm welcome to these girls' parents who are up in the gallery. They would stand. Thank you. Are they up there? Oh, okay. And also with these girls is the Peach Pageant board member Donna Long, who really works very hard with this pageant and all these girls. Thank you, Donna. So now, very quickly, I'd like to introduce these girls, starting with our youngest queen, Tiny Miss Peach, Addison Rickerson from Albany. She's right here. And Little Miss Peach, Amelia Reed from Leesburg, Georgia. Isn't she pretty? And Junior Miss Peach, Carly Harper couldn't be here today. She's from Americas. And Teen Miss Peach, Bella Hayes from Watkinsville, Georgia. She's right here. And Miss Georgia Peach, Sydney Locke from Edison. And thank you. And Sydney's platform this year has been Give Life, registered to become an organ or tissue donor. So a fine young lady. And I'd like to introduce Sydney to speak a few words.
First, I'd like to thank you, Mr. Speaker and House members, for inviting us to the House chamber today. It's always one of the highlights of our year is getting to come and speak in front of you. And it's just been such an honor to represent the agriculture industry as Miss Georgia Peach this year, since it is one of Georgia's chief industries. And I would also like to thank Representative Dickey, who is always such a supportive member of the Miss Georgia Peach pageant and the Queens. So thank you for having us.
We are now going on to the rules calendar. Going on to the rules calendar, the clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 1260.
House Resolution 1260 by Representative Ballinger, the 23rd, and others. A resolution creating the House Study Committee on Juvenile Court Judges. This resolution has been referred to the Committee on Juvenile Justice. That committee recommends that this resolution be adopted.
Chair recognizes the chair of the Juvenile Justice Committee, Chairman Ballinger, to present the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today in support of House Resolution 1260. We passed a comprehensive juvenile code rewrite in 2013, mandating a lot of expanded requirements of our juvenile court judges. However, as our child welfare system has grown, as the duties and responsibilities of our juvenile court judges have continued to expand year after year, their method of appointment, their oversight, compensation, comprehensive governance of our juvenile court judges has not received the same scrutiny as our juvenile code. So this resolution will basically allow a long overdue study committee of our juvenile court judges, how they're overseen, how they're appointed, and how they continue to keep their job and how they're governed. So I would appreciate your favorable support. Mr. Speaker, I'll be happy to yield to any questions.
You have no questions.
Thank you. I request your favorable support of this measure. Thank you.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the adoption of the resolution? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this resolution now be adopted? All those in favor of the adoption of the resolution will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the adoption of the resolution, the ayes are 162, the nays are 2. This resolution, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore adopted. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 436.
Senate Bill 436 by Senator Strickland of the 17th and Mullis of the 53rd. Bill being titled Act to amend Chapter 9 of Title 15 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to probate courts so as to change and modernize certain general provisions for probate courts. This bill having referred to the Committee on Judiciary, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes Representative Fleming to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, Senate Bill 436 is a bill that simply updates our probate code, changes a lot of he's to the judge and other things that we do whenever we update a code. We're clarifying the fact of how the ascension to probate judge occurs if the judge has to leave, and we also clarify that creditors are allowed to be sure to probate a will if needed. There are many other small details, but it's basically a cleanup bill. A very similar bill came out of the House Judiciary Committee but didn't make it all the way through the rules process, so we moved the Senate bill. Mr. Speaker, I'd be happy to answer any questions any members may have.
You have no questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd ask for your favorable consideration.
I'm sorry, you do have a question.
Sure.
Do you yield?
Absolutely.
Chair recognizes the Minority Caucus Whip, Representative Hughley, to your left.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you clarify for me? I may have misheard. You said creditors will be allowed to probate a will?
Creditors are already allowed under Georgia law to probate a will. The circumstances would be if a person passed away and you had a contract with them and that person owed you some money, for example. Under current Georgia law, you can go there and say, if nobody in the family is going to probate their will so the assets can be divided up properly, you, after the brothers and sisters and children have decided not to take the appropriate action, sometimes maybe to avoid having to pay the debts of the estate, you can step up and say, Your Honor, please allow me to do that. That's current Georgia law. There was a case that muddled that a little bit. We're simply putting it back like we all thought it was beforehand. Okay.
No further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd ask for your favorable consideration of Senate Bill 436.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of Senate Bill 436 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of Senate Bill 436, the ayes are 164, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 406.
Senate Bill 406 by Senator Strickland of the 17th, Walker of the 20th, Stone of the 23rd, Miller of the 49th, Martin of the 9th, and others. The bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 31 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to health so as to enact the Georgia Long-Term Care Background Check Program and to promote public safety. This bill having referred to the Committee on Human Relations and Aging, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes Representative F. Strachan to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I bring to you Senate Bill 406 from recommendations made by the Criminal Justice Reform Council that worked throughout the year to provide a report and recommendations to us. This bill will help to provide comprehensive criminal background checks for elder care providers throughout the state of Georgia. And that will be in personal care homes or assisted living facilities or similar facilities. We'll provide a registry so that checks can be made to ensure that senior citizens of the state of Georgia receive care from individuals who have not been convicted of offenses that might cause concern that those individuals might be placed in danger. As I understand it, passed unanimously out of committee. Mr. Speaker, if there are any questions, I'd be happy to yield.
You have a couple of questions. Do you yield?
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes Coach Williams to your right for a question. He waives. Chair recognizes Representative Petrie to your left for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Is it not true that during the course of these committee meetings, we discovered that the department today does not have the ability to fully handle this new volume, but that they are going to have it in place, and that there is a delay on this bill being implemented on providers, and by that time, there will be the capacity to fingerprint all of the caregivers throughout this state, and therefore, I support this bill. Is that not true?
Yes, sir. That's true. Thank you.
Thank you,
for
sir.
the question.
Do you yield for another question?
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes Representative Gonzalez to your left for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Do you yield?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you just clarify for me, will they be keeping this information, the fingerprints, when they have them done?
And, well, by that, first of all, there are safeguards included in the bill to ensure that records that are maintained are used for the purposes that are the stated objectives of the bill, not outside of that. That is my understanding from reviewing the language. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
You have no further questions.
I yield the well. Thank you.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. We have a technical problem up here at the front, so is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the passage of Senate Bill 406, the ayes are 163. The nays are 4. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 330.
Senate Bill 330 by Senator Wilkinson, the 50th, Mullins, the 53rd, Walker, the 20th, Black of the 8th, Burke of the 11th, and others, to be entitled an Act to amend Article 6 of Chapter 2, Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to the Quality Basic Education Act, so as to provide that the agricultural educational program in the state is based upon a 3-component model. This bill having referred to the Committee on Education, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes Chairman Dickey to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I'd ask for your support this morning of the Georgia Agricultural Act. This very good legislation that came to us over from the Senate clarifies in Section 2 the 3-component model in our ag education program here in Georgia: the classroom instruction, lab environment, and hands-on learning opportunities, the so-called SAE program that the National FFA program highlights in their program. This bill also allows the Department of Education through our ag education program to start a pilot 3-year program in 6 elementary schools in partnership with our local boards of education. And at the end of this 3-year pilot program in these schools, the results will be evaluated by our respective House and Senate ag committees. And so, Mr. Speaker, that's all this bill does. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
You have none.
Mike, I yield the well. Ask for your support,
Gentleman has
please.
yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of Senate Bill 330 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines on the passage of Senate Bill 330. The ayes are 163. The nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 1363.
House Resolution 1363 by Representative Cooper, the 43rd, and others, a resolution urging the United States Congress to amend the Controlled Substances Act of 1970 so as to reclassify marijuana as a Schedule II drug. This bill having referred to the Committee on Health and Human Services, that committee recommends that this resolution be adopted.
Chair recognizes the chair of the Health and Human Services Committee, Chairman Cooper, to present the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I'll digress just a little bit. I was in the ante room this morning, and one of our members came by and said, the world has turned upside down in one day. You're bringing a bill that's about marijuana, and the insurance chairman is bringing a bill about autism. So I want you to know you're in a very significant day. I'm really tired of us not being able to know if marijuana oil really works or if it's all just a big hoax. And so it is time for us to urge the U.S. Congress to do one of two things: either move marijuana from a Schedule I to a Schedule II drug so that our institutes, research institutes of higher learning, can study the drug to see about the oil, to see how much THC is effective if it's needed, and to do the kind of things that would lead to what diseases does it work with, which ones does it not work with, if it's effective. If they are not willing to do that, which the FDA has been very resistant against changing the scheduling of marijuana, then there is a bipartisan bill in the U.S. Senate. It is a bipartisan bill sponsored by Senator Sanchez and Senator Orrin Hatch. It would allow for the study of marijuana and our research institutions to be able to do that research that's so vitally needed without changing the scheduling. So this is what this resolution does. It urges Congress do one or the other but to get off their duffs and act. And I would ask for your favorable consideration on this piece of resolution. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'll yield the well.
You have some questions.
Well, I know Representative Pink has something to say to me, so I'll take one, Mr. Speaker.
You'll take one.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Chair recognizes Representative Peak to your right for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is my friend in the well yield.
I will yield.
Is it not true that on this very day, at this very moment, that there's a good possibility that pigs may fly and that hell may freeze over?
That, if you say so, Representative, that may be true. And I want you to know that part of this resolution is a parting gift to you from me, and I will miss you being a member of our chamber.
Well, I thank you, and if I can yield for one more question, and a serious question.
Okay.
Is it not true that while you and I may have had some serious disagreements on this issue over the year, that this is a prime example of Republican to Republican Democrat that we can find where we do agree on, in particular this case, asking Congress to act. And that maybe there are times in this chamber that that's what we ought to focus on, is where we find those areas where we can agree. And so I applaud you and thank you for bringing this forward and look forward to supporting it.
You are so right, Representative. I am very glad that I do not serve in the U.S. Congress, where it seems like bipartisanship has gone the way. And I'm very proud to be a member of this House in the Georgia legislature, because at times we do have differences, but most of the time, if you watch the board when we vote on bills, they pass with both Democrat and Republican votes, and I am very thankful to my colleagues on both sides for that working together in a sense of bipartisanship on most of what comes before this chamber. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will yield the well.
Lady has yielded the well. Is there any, we have two members that wish to be heard on the bill. Chair recognizes Representative Paris to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, colleagues, I rise today in support of House Resolution 1363, an urging resolution to Congress to amend the Controlled Substances Act of 1970 and reclassify marijuana as a Schedule II drug. As currently scheduled, marijuana is listed as a Schedule I drug with accepted medical use and carries high potential for abuse. To be categorized as a Schedule I substance, the drug must meet 3 criteria. The drug currently has no accepted medical use in treatment in the United States. There is a lack of accepted safety for use of the drug under medical supervision. The drug has a high potential for abuse. Marijuana as used today here in Georgia does not meet 2 of the 3 requirements as currently scheduled. Under the proposed rescheduling, marijuana still would be defined as a drug with high potential for abuse. But the FDA-approved derivatives of the substance would be available for prescription with the highest level of restrictions. It will also slightly relax the hurdles to research on the medical benefits or impacts of cannabis. There is substantial evidence that suggests that more Americans are supportive of declassification in some form. Some would urge decriminalization, while others would advocate for outright legalization. This urging resolution is not that. However, in April of 2017, Quinnipiac published the results of a survey and concluded that 94% of Americans said they support allowing adult patients to use doctor-recommended medical cannabis, while 60% said they support adult use legalization. I'm going to skip on down and get to my closing. I will close with this. Just as opioid abuse is being seen as a health crisis, possession of marijuana as a gateway to the prison pipeline is as much of a critical issue that needs to be addressed, as it adversely affects communities of color. House Bill 865 which is a bill I have sponsored, attempts to do just that. A state that has led the criminal justice reform movement must certainly see the benefit of raising the felony amount of possession to 2 ounces. This is a small step, but a step that will positively impact the well-being of those we represent. As we consider this resolution today, I want us to consider lowering the penalties for marijuana. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield the well.
Chair recognizes Representative Vernon Jones to speak to the bill.
Mr. Speaker and ladies and gentlemen of this House, this is my first time coming in this well in 18 years. I have had an opportunity to serve in this body before, and many of you know I've always acted in a very bipartisan way. I rise in support of this legislation, but I will have to say that Representative Gravely, Michael Gravely, if you can recall, a few weeks ago came down to this well, me and others, with a House resolution that I had to urge Congress to reclassify marijuana for medical research purposes. And he gave an eloquent cry to members of this body to support it. We had over nearly 50 signatures on this same resolution, and it was assigned to a committee, and I was not given the opportunity to have a hearing on this bill. Now, I am not so caught up in pride of authorship, but I do, and I have to within good conscience say that the efforts and me working with Representative Peake in perfecting the legislation to bring before you, and I appreciate you, Representative Peake, for your support and helped me work through that resolution. But when the author of this current H.R. 1363 came to me later and asked if I would sign her bill, pride of authorship went out of the way. Primary for one thing, one of my interns, my young intern, his mother is right now living in Colorado. She had to move to Colorado because of her being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. As a result of that, she has seizures. She has temporary blindness. And she has other effects. And she's had to go to a natural diet, an herbal diet, and moving to Colorado where she can have access to marijuana for medical purposes has made a difference in her life and has changed her life, as has changed many others. So I rise, Mr. Speaker, obviously to support this legislation. I hope each and every one of you do it because there are countless of us out there who need this medical research to provide a quality of life and to save lives. And it's unfortunate that Congress has not moved forward on this, and so we want to urge them to get off their fannies and move forward so we can continue to save lives. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and members of this House. I'll entertain any questions, comments, or observations. If not, I will respectfully yield as well.
You have a question if you care to yield.
I yield, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Spencer to your right for a question.
Does the gentleman yield?
I yield to the good gentleman.
Are you aware of a drug named Marinol that was approved by the FDA?
Probably not as extensive as you are familiar with it.
Are you also aware that this drug is a derivative of marijuana?
Sir, I don't know that.
And also, you're also aware that this is a Schedule III drug that the FDA has approved?
If the gentleman so states.
Thank you, sir.
No further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the adoption of the resolution? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this resolution now be adopted? All those in favor of the adoption of House Resolution 1363 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the passage of House Resolution 1363, the ayes are 158, the nays are 5. This resolution, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore adopted. This House will be in recess for lunch until 1:15.